You play euphonium? Welcome, Matthew. Welcome, game time. I'm glad you were excited for the stream today. You have a chair audition tomorrow and you need to beat Brady. Do you have any last minute advice? Especially day before things, I tend to do a lot of slow practice and kind of try to get myself to really relax about things. But other than that, go the tempo that you can play it well. Those sorts of things I think are always important. How do I move the sheet music on Instagram videos? It's pretty cool. I use a program called After Effects, which is a part of the Adobe suite. Can I play a chorale? Chorale's not really fun to play by yourself. Welcome, Logan. Thoughts on Tony Stark? I don't really have a lot of strong feelings. Rate you a 10 out of 10. Thank you. Do I have a euphonium? Yeah, I do. How's it going, Zach? Hello, Keaton. You play Party Piece by Philip Spark? No, I don't know that piece that well. Also, I've kind of decided to stop playing things that aren't public domain because sometimes YouTube doesn't like that, and it can kind of track it. It's not great at tracking it, but it can sometimes figure it out. For a lesson where I need to play two low brass instruments, should I start with the bigger or lower mouthpiece instrument? You know, it's somewhat personal preference. I think I tend to prefer to start on the bigger one, but it's a slight preference. It doesn't really matter a whole lot to me. Um, but I kind of recommend going bigger first if that's an option. But yeah, ideally you should play both instruments. Favorite. Oh, wait, let's go back up. You swear your tone on tuba is always so weird a few minutes after practicing you. Yeah, I mean, they can kind of affect each other in sometimes a negative way. I found that the only really real way to practice that is just to practice it a lot. And again, I focus on the sound first, which makes some of that a little bit easier in my experience. I'm a legend, thank you. Favorite Adam Driver movie? I I know I've seen him in something other than the Star Wars movies, but I can't think of it. Yeah, I don't know. Do I play jazz euphonium? I've done some of it. I don't do a ton of it. You know, it doesn't really pay. But yeah, I'm glad that the ATSSB tuba stuff was helpful. Hello, Mr. Anonymous. Trevor C, nice to meet you. Oh, is it the Trevor C that I think I know? I assume it is. Oh, good to be in contact with you again, Trevor. Gotcha. Your friend Brandon is pretty chill at Euphonium. It's good. Beast mode, Brandon. Can you watch me perform live? Yeah, you know, right now it's a little bit hard, but at some point, I'm sure. You find it amazing that you can play multiple instruments extremely well. Thank you. Yeah, it it still takes a lot of time. I've spent a lot of time on each instrument. But yeah, it's something that I've kind of done for a long time, and that's a big, you know, part of doing that. Let's see here. Um, Play soccer. I never really played soccer. I played soccer for like 1 year when I was in kindergarten. Didn't go so well. I've seen your video of Odyssey by Neil Corwell. Awesome video. Could you play that by any chance right now? No, for a couple reasons, especially since that has a background track. I'll immediately get dinged for copyright stuff. But also, that piece is hard, and it's been a long time since I've worked on that piece. You're working on this etude right now. It's a good etude, Mr. Anonymous. Can I play that Bumblebee song? You mean Fly to the Bumblebee? Yeah, I'm not going to play that right now. I've kind of been more sticking to playing etudes on here just because, especially with copyright stuff, I played the Lebedev Concerto in One Movement, just a little snippet of it, just, on my own, no piano part or anything, and the artificial intelligence that YouTube was able to pick up on it. And that's not necessarily a huge deal, but assuming I'm eligible for monetization on YouTube at some point, that would be a negative thing. Let's see here. Do I have any tips for getting a good crisp articulation consistently? Yeah, I guess my main thing to say would be to make sure that you're practicing slowly, because I think what a lot of problems of articulation and things come down to is coordination issues. So we have to make sure the air, the tongue, all of those things happen at the exact same time. And sometimes if we're going really fast, that kind of gets thrown to the wayside. Um, so yeah, that's definitely something that I would work on. And I also like to do monotone practice. Like for example, with Meistersinger, what I was just playing, I would practice that on one pitch, maybe either a G or a C or something like that. So I would play it like this. And while that's probably not the most exciting way to practice it in the world, it does it removes some other variables. So it makes it where it's a little bit easier to work on just one really specific thing in the articulation. So that's what I try to do, and I think it's pretty helpful. Are the Bach cello suites in public domain? I assume so, but I don't know what kind of fan stuff goes on with older composers' pieces. So the Bach cello suites are definitely public domain. Anything by Bach is. I'm not an expert on all things public domain and copyright law, but essentially anything that's like 100 years or older than 100 years in the United States should be public domain. But there are more recent laws that will affect things that are that are in this like 75-year window where I think it has to be so many years past the last person having have once the last person who's on the copyright passes away, then a certain time starts, I think, is a newer law that's a part of that. But yeah, off the top of my head, definitely Bach cello suites are, but it gets a little bit hairy. And it's not always perfectly clear, technically if you're using it for education purposes, it can, there's fair use. There's a lot of really kind of convoluted things. But, especially with YouTube, all of their copyright stuff is done by artificial intelligence first. And you're definitely guilty until proven innocent on YouTube. So, excuse me. Yeah, it's different in every, or not every country, but I think there are laws for the EU about copyright stuff, and I know Canada's laws are similar to ours, but not exactly the same. It just depends on where you are. They're all kind of different, but yeah, and I think that after the composer's death, I think that's a little bit more of how things are going to be set up in the future. But I think as of right now in the United States, it's pretty much if things are 100 years old. Yeah, we're enjoying the emojis. My favorite symphony to play. I guess I just haven't played, actually performed a lot of Mahler or Bruckner, and I'd like to play basically all the ones that, you know, all the ones that have low brass. Should make custom emojis. I should. I don't really know what goes into that. I mean, I have a logo, but I don't know how you get that to be an emoji. I don't know how to talk to the powers that be. Is there any way to support me other than watching the streams? As of right now, not really. I mean, that's thoughtful that you at least have interest. I thought about doing things like Patreon. I don't think I'm going to. But yeah, I guess, subscribing, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of those, standard YouTube protocols. But yeah, I thought about doing like a Patreon, but I don't really want to do that. But maybe I will. I mean, that question comes up occasionally, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people are, dying to throw money at me over the internet. So, you always could take, a lesson or something if that would interest you. I do lessons, over Zoom and stuff. I think I'm actually gonna start doing it over Discord. But yeah, if it's unclear by these streams, I'm reasonably capable of communicating over the internet. So, um, but yeah, I mean, as of right now, not really. Maybe at some point I'll have some other things. I've got some other things in the works, but um, as of right now, there's not a good way, I guess. I'm still not eligible for monetization through YouTube, which hopefully isn't that far away. I guess I can check here. Let's see. Yeah, it's not super far away. Here, I can put this on screen. I don't think I'm gonna show anybody my passwords or anything. Let's see here. Scroll down here. Oh, I can't scroll with the setup. Um, so I'm not sure how well you can see that, but I've got enough subscribers, but I don't have enough watch hours. It's kind of small, but I have 3,151 public watch hours, and I need 4,000 to even be eligible on YouTube for any monetization. Um, so, um, so yeah, that at some point there might be a donate, but I think that would allow there to be a donate button, but I'm not exactly sure how that works. Would you post recordings of Falcone Student Vision solos? I've thought about it. I'd like to do a lot more solo stuff. I want to do it right with piano and everything, and to do that right is a little bit tricky. But in the future that might be something that I'm doing. Can I play Fountains of Rome? Sure. Feeling generous. Yeah, I really would like to do solos. It's just, I don't have a grand piano at my disposal all the time. It's just one of those things that if I'm going to do it, I'd really like to do it well, and kind of in a way that I'm happy with. So I want to do it with a grand piano, and I have multiple cameras, but I'm not. I'm mostly only happy with my main camera, which you see. I've got a few other cameras here too, but you know I'm probably going to sell those and get something different. So to do something like that well, I would say I want 3 cameras, and I have 3 cameras right now, but I have 1 camera that I like and 2 that are okay. But I'd like to get 3 cameras that I'd like theoretically. And just there's added costs. You have to pay for a pianist and things like that. So etudes and excerpts are pretty easy for me to just kind of do on my own. Yeah, and going back to that Patreon idea, I have thought about doing it similar to this other YouTuber that I follow, who's like a like a maker, like someone who builds things like woodworking and metal stuff. And what he did was he kind of said, I'm not going to promote the Patreon, but I'll make one since people ask. But I don't think that that's you know quite necessary as of right now. But maybe it's something that I could put into existence, and then if people wanted to, they could if you ask, I could tell you about it. But I don't like the idea of like at the end of every video it's just like if you liked me playing tuba, subscribe on Patreon, or give me money on Patreon, and just kind of badgering people that way. But it's also kind of part of the game. When I take my first music theory class, I took music theory in high school. I had a pretty good grounding before that because I took piano lessons for 10 years as a kid, and from 4 to 14. And as a part of all of that time, I was always working out of a theory workbook or something to that effect. And then also, I took jazz improvisation classes in high school before music theory. And there's a pretty good there's a pretty good theory component in a lot of jazz improvisation teaching. So, I got a lot there. And, I was reading books at that age, which might seem odd to read music theory books, but, I've got to, again, mostly on the jazz side of things, but a lot of that overlaps. I mean, there are definitely some differences. But yeah, if your school offers it and you can do it, I would definitely encourage you to take the class. I think music theory is really important. In college, I'm not saying I had the most fun in music theory class every day, but I think it's really helpful for being a performer and being a teacher to kind of understand theory. Beadlo is cool. Yeah, I agree. I like playing beadlo. Um, Let's see. Hey, Zach, how are you? I'm good. How are you, Jose? Let's see. I'm trying to think of another excerpt to play. It's kind of bummed. I went to the website brassexcerpts.com. I don't know if any of you all have used that in the past, but it seems like that is not really a thing anymore, which was definitely the most convenient way just on my computer to do excerpts. I have PDFs of all of the excerpts basically somewhere, but like I have them on my iPad. I don't think that they're on my desktop. Maybe they are, um, but I should probably get all of that organized. I need to be more organized with all of my PDF things. Let's see. Have gigs slowed down due to COVID? Yeah, they've definitely slowed down. Yeah, it's an interesting time for sure. I assume most people know that I live in Texas, but Texas is a little bit looser as far as a lot of the restrictions go. So people can still have events and things, but there are definitely less events. I primarily play with like a wedding band or party band sort of thing, and especially in January, there tends to be less weddings, but we usually play more corporate events. Like we always play a gig for Pepsi in the month of January, and Pepsi is smart enough not to have a company-wide party during all of this. So, but people are still having weddings for better or for worse. Um, so there are still some things, but definitely not quite as plentiful as usual. But as things progress with the vaccine, things hopefully should open back up and be somewhat regular. I'd like to be optimistic, but I'm also not naive. So it's different everywhere. Yeah, like it's practically locked down in Illinois. That's very much not how Texas is. Um, you know, I'll spare the political discussion of if it should be locked down or not. But the reality of it is not really locked down right now. So um, I mean, there are definitely things that aren't perfectly normal. But like I said, I played a wedding last week. Was it perfectly safe? Probably not. But did money go into my checking account? Yes. So just kind of is what it is, unfortunately. Hopefully things go back to normal. Yeah, hopefully at some point. Some days I'm pessimistic and don't believe they will, and other days I'm optimistic that it'll not only go back to normal, but it'll be better than normal, and it'll be soon that happens. So, but yeah, I mean, I think especially as far as things in Texas go, I mean, things are a little bit more opened up, but um, there's definitely less work than usual as far as performing goes, because some people have decided to not have events and things like that, which I don't blame them for. So it is what it is. And I think the other thing too, if people do have gigs or whatever, they're probably not subbing them out because it's probably one of very few gigs that they've had recently, and probably could use the money. And so I feel like there's a little bit less of that stuff going on too. So just kind of unfortunately is what it is right now. But yeah, it's kind of probably wouldn't be live streaming as often if that were going on. I'm planning to keep this up. This is the third week of the year, and it's the third Wednesday of the year, and I've been consistent. Within a couple of minutes every 7:30, signing on here and doing a live stream. So I plan to keep that going. I've got some things that I'm working on. Like I've been working on some overlays and things, which I don't think I'm super great at, but here's kind of one that I've been working on. So here's like, let's look at this PDF together. Um, and, I can point to things and, you know, it's definitely bare. I plan on putting some other things, around this. And this is the first time I've used it on YouTube, so now I see that there's a logo that's kind of not quite over my face, but near my face. And I probably could be more centered here, but yeah. And I've thought also, changing, the aspect ratio of this to make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, I'm not perfectly in love with this or anything, but some of the stuff that I've been working on. So I'm not planning on going anywhere as far as the live streams go. I want to do a lot more, and I've also been talking to some friends about having people come on here as somewhat regular guests, potentially too, just because I think the format of me just talking into a void is not always the most fun. Is anybody on the box? I don't know what that means. But yeah, so I've definitely got some ideas. I'm trying to work through some technical advancements to get some certain things going as far as the live stream goes. It's tricky, especially with like the overlays and stuff, doing it all myself. Like I know what I'm doing in Photoshop to some extent, but I'm definitely not a master, and I don't think I have a super great eye for like design and things. But I'm also too cheap to pay someone, so it's kind of a catch-22 that I just have to do the best that I can. But yeah, so I'd like to have some different overlays. I think I've had another one in the past. Is that here still? I think it went away. I don't know. Or maybe it dragged up to the top. I don't know. I know I had another one on here for a while, but I can't seem to get it to work. But yeah, I'd like to have one where it's, this something that goes over this, and then also one for, when I have the PDF next to me, and maybe something down the middle or something like that. So got some stuff to figure out, but I'm not quite there yet. John Stephen Diversions. Yeah, I've heard that piece. I don't think I've actually played it though. Let's do some Petrushka. Oh, you're talking the woodwind solo in Petrucci? Yeah, it's actually E flat clarinet. I assume you're talking about what's happening while the tuba is playing. Yeah, E flat clarinet, which is a pretty, or can be a pretty shrill instrument. Some may argue that's the point, some may argue that's bad playing of it, but it's definitely not as warm and welcoming as the tuba might be. What do you plan on bringing on the show? Oh, who do you? Sorry, I can't read. You know, I don't have a total game plan. Um, I don't even know if that's. I maybe shouldn't even said. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But you know, I thought some of my friends who are other low brass people who might have some interesting things to say. I think ultimately personality is kind of the more important thing. But keeping on topic is good. I could probably reach out to more famous players and things, and some of them might do it. But I feel like that's a little bit silly with how many viewers we have. If we had a few more, maybe. I'd love to get an F or an E flat tuba one day. They sound so much different than B flat and C. Yeah, they can sound different. They can sound similar too. To me, the point is the sound. A lot of people will say something like F tuba and E flat tuba make you play higher. You can do this, that, or the other. But I think ultimately it is the sound. And I've chosen, especially with my F tuba, I've chosen an instrument that's very different than my C tuba. So yeah, I mean they're fun to have and fun to play, but they're not 100% necessary. And tubas are already expensive. Just getting one is a lot. Maybe it's been a little bit too long on Einheldenleben. And I can't play the muted portion because my mute's in the storage room. Luis, how's it going? I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself? Would you ever become a teacher for band? I would say that's highly unlikely at this point, but you know, as Justin Bieber once taught us, never say never. So, yeah, I would say that's pretty unlikely. I don't have the degrees to do it. You know, there are certifications that I could potentially get, but you know, it's definitely not the trajectory that I'm currently on, and I would be surprised if that changed. But you know, if one day I woke up and said to myself that I have to be a band director, I'd probably be a band director. The key signature of Ride of the Valkyries is always scares you. Yeah, I mean, got 5 sharps. It's not so bad though. Sharps aren't that scary. You know, there are no bad keys. They're just unfamiliar keys, and that's all that, you know, B major probably is to you at this point, is unfamiliar. But I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I forgot that I told a friend that we would have a Zoom chat at 8 or 8:30, and it is now 8:32. So, I still practice as often. Yeah, I mean, I still practice a good bit, especially with, you know, the current global situation. I don't want to, you know, wake up and, you know, be not as good as I once was. That would not be ideal. Like, ideally, I'm only getting better until I get really old. Ideally, I just keep getting better and better is kind of the whole point. So even with the current global situation, less gigs, less in-person things, all of those sorts of things, I'd like to not be worse by the end of it. I think there'll be probably a good mixture, because it's hard to stay motivated when, you know, usually it's pretty easy for me to stay motivated with practicing because, you know, someone's paying me to play a lot. So that helps. Certainly, you know, monetary compensation for the hours that I practice feels pretty good. When you have less of that, it's, you know, it's not perfectly ideal. So, so yeah, that's, you know, I think that's definitely something, you know, it's important to still be practicing at this time. So, so yeah, I still practice a lot. I mean, there are some days where maybe I'm not quite as motivated, and I don't practice as much, but, you know, I've always been someone who likes practicing a good bit. But yeah, I'll see everybody later. If you have a last second question or something. But all right, well, I will see everyone later, and hopefully I'll see everyone next week at the same bat time, same bat channel, as they used to say. All right, I'll catch everybody later.